Well, hello there. I've managed to get in the shop for a few hours tonight, starting on another new project. I really need to clean up my mess from us partying out here the other night, but it's been super cold the last couple days. I need to drag these tubs out, dump them in the driveway, and then put all this stuff back on the shelf, get my table back. I have been wanting a better saw for cutting rocks. This is the saw I've been using. This is actually one of my tile saws that I use when I'm doing tile work, and it's a nice little saw. It's got certain times when it comes in incredibly handy and certain times when you actually need a real tile saw, which I have one of them as well. I don't really like cutting rocks with it, so I've been looking at buying rock saws, and they're expensive. If you find a good deal on a used one, I'll tell you what, snag it up, because they're few and far between. I've been looking for months now. I did come across this, and this is just a base with some grinding stones, and I got it at a garage sale for $7.50. Now, I really like this stone, and I plan on putting it on one of my real grinders over there. So that was a good deal all in itself. You're not going to find that stone new for anywhere under 30 bucks, so I'll be super happy to have that stone in my arsenal. This is just a plain Jane stone, but it looks to have a lot of life left in it. And it'll be over there when I wear a stone down. I'll have it. I actually have one right now that needs to be changed out. So the reason why I like this base is right here. This is the pulley where you put a belt and run it out to a drive motor. And I can make the drive motor back there, however long the belt is, and keep it way away from the blade and the water, so I don't have water and electricity mixing. They tell me that ends up bad sometimes. So my plan for now is to go ahead and strip this down, and I'm going to get these stones over there and put them with the other grinders, and I need to address the bearings on here. I feel a little bit of a catch. I don't know if they just need some lube, or maybe I'm going to have to pull them out and get some new bearings in there, and I'd like to just clean that up a little bit, and then I'm going to start figuring out how I'm going to mount it. I got to find a belt, which I'm sure I have one floating around here somewhere, and a motor. But my plan with this then is to put this blade on there. It'll go on just like that, and then there'll be a table right about here and a container underneath to dip the blade in water, and then the belt will be over here, and I'm just going to leave this side open. At some point I might put a polishing disc over here, but for now I don't have any intentions on using this side. Mostly just want to get that blade, get it spinning, get a nice table, and possibly make the table where I can have a rock trolley on there where you can clamp the rock down and then just push on the trolley where it'll make nice straight cuts. But for the most part, if you have to hold these rocks in your hand and push them through, it's pretty easy. Once you get the cut started, the kerf of the cut actually keeps you pretty straight, because if you move off from straight, it'll bind up. So I'm going to get going on this. Can get this thing working and get some rocks cut. I got a lot of other cool stuff to show you, and we'll see how far I get with this and what all I can find, and if I can get it up and running before this video is done. If not, I do have a backup plan, and we're still going to get a couple rocks cut and then take you through another couple of steps afterwards, which we will talk about later in this video. See you soon. Well, great news. I managed to get it all apart. I had to do a little bit of filing on the end of them threads there. The nuts didn't want to come off, and I did have to grab it with a vice grip to turn them off. But once I got this pulley off that had a bunch of dirt underneath of it, the shaft spins great, the bearings feel great. So now I just got to clean it up, maybe slap a coat of paint on it, start my build. Well, I would say proof of concept. I got that part. It spins, it works. But that motor isn't going to be enough. It just doesn't have the snort that I want. I'll show you why. Right down to nothing. And if I back all the way out, it'll take right off again. Now I did just cut this rock right in half. Donna's got the other half. What a neat rock it is, too. That quartz vein running through there really looks cool. But it took me like 20 tries in and out. What I will say is it seems to be balanced out nice. There isn't a lot of chatter. It's not jumping around. It does cut smooth. I'm just going to have to put a little bit bigger motor in there. And, you know, this piece of wood was basically just a mock-up. It allowed me to put everything together in a quick hurry. When it's all said and done, I'll have this on a more permanent stand, like I said, with a metal water table. And as you see, the blade is actually lower than the housing, so I'm going to have to get a little creative there with getting the water barrel down lower and then making my table come across at this height. So that should give me, I mean, that's all of my finger. That's a pretty good size rock I can cut. You know, I'd have no problem cutting right through that rock that way. A little bit of trouble if I tried to do this one standing up, but I bet I could make it work. So off to a great start for a few hours of screwing around in the shop. Had a friend stop over. That delayed me a little bit while I let the paint dry, and then I had another friend call me on the phone. So I really only have about an hour into getting this cleaned up and painted, and I set it on the floor over by the heater and let the paint dry. And then, as you see, it's already getting covered in dust. So that'll be good enough, though. At least it won't rust up on me. I'm going to call it quits for tonight. Find me a better motor when the daylight comes. I've got a few motors stashed here, there, and everywhere. It'll be on this board at first. Make sure I got the torque that I need. And then I'll decide if I'm going to go with a shorter belt or a longer belt, where the motor is going to get mounted, and how it'll all work. New day, new motor, slight upgrade. If you're wondering why the belt looks funny, it's because the motor's spinning that way. And I want the blade to spin that way. You put a twist in the belt. There's a little friction there when they rub on each other, but yeah, it works on the farm. It should work here. Let's see. That's got way more power, way more speed, way more power, way more torque. That's gonna work. That's gonna work. I have to be careful. The whole thing's trying to fall off of my stand right now. So, and I'm doing it one-handed. Definitely got to get some water. Yep, need a table, need some water. She's going to be a nice rock saw. A nice addition. See that blade warping and doing its thing. They'll do that. Worse when it gets hot. So keep it cooled down. If I had two hands, I could hold that water with one hand. Filming though. This would have been pretty quick. isn't a very new blade either. This one's been around a few years. Made some cuts. There it is. Alright. Get the power switch over here. And then well, there's a little bit of water right here. Oh, look at them crazy cool colors. How neat is that? Be even cooler if there was some gold in there. But yes, I will call that a victory. The slab saw is coming. Oh man, that is just rocking. All right. See you soon. I gotta get the fabricator out. Start fabricating. All right, I'm getting a lot further. I got a table on there. I decided to go with a larger table just because I like the idea of having a little bit more workspace. Now this might bite me in the butt later on when it comes to getting the water to drain back, but I kind of have a plan for that. We're just going to have to use it and see how I modify it after. I got my first bracket made for underneath of there and a couple of tack welds holding it on place, and I bolted it back on, and I turned it on to see how the blade was running, if it was going to rub at all. It does rub just a little bit. I'll end up grinding that slot a little bit wider. But while it was running, I had to put it to the test. Now this is just, I grabbed this because this looked like it was just an ugly rock and it wasn't going to be a big deal if I cut it. But oh my guys, are you ready for this reveal? Look at how badass that is on the inside. That is going to make some really neat things. Maybe I'm going to slab it out. Maybe I'll just polish it. But how cool is that? It's just like a lightning bolt went off inside of there. And how neat. What a great start. What a great first rock to try. Like I said, to see this as a regular rock, you wouldn't think nothing of it at all. So yeah, off to a great start. Didn't take long at all to cut through that. I'm having a problem with the blade getting hot, not consistently watering it, but that will be taken care of soon enough. I will be making a tray for down there, but I just don't know. I got to get it off of that board first. So right now the modifications I'm making are okay that I'm doing them on the board. I'm going to need a more permanent location for mounting it before I can start considering a water tray, and so that'll be coming up soon. I'm actually going to go out back and see if I have like a steel table I can mount it to, see what I can work with. It's already built versus I do have some square tubing. I could weld up a whole stand, and that might be what happens, but for now I'm trying to work with what I've got. So off to a great start. Again, look at that for a first try. How cool is that? There is a lot going on in there. All right, guys, it'll just keep getting better. All right, it's not done by any means, right? But it definitely works. I got a lot of fine tuning to do, but it's gonna take me more time to finish this than I can dedicate to it right now. So we're just gonna show you how it works. I'll cut this in real time and then I'll fast forward through it for you. I'm going to make an adjustment to my water. There, with the water at that end more, it shouldn't spray as fast. is a piece of gold ore, quartz, the vein you can see. All right, now we're gonna pause you, do some changes, and make my next cut. All right, so you see I've added a fence. I'm gonna use that fence to make a slab. Get the saw going again. I can put this right on the fence, push it right through. A little bit that's left on there, I'll just use the blade as its own little guide. Alright, get back in the camera here. Now, I've got these pieces of ore with a nice clean edge, and then I made this nice, look at that, nice and uniform, same thickness all the way through. And it has a lot of really neat stuff going on. So, like I said, there's a lot of fine tuning that I'm going to need to do with this saw. I currently have it on some sawhorses. I've got it in a bucket. I'm pumping out of that barrel, and as you see, it all leaks into that one, and it gets all over the floor. It gets all over me. Like Jeff Williams says, yeah, I got a little wet. So, now it's time to talk about the next step. Let's go ahead and take you over to the rock polishing station, and I'm going to make that slab shine, and you're going to watch me do it. See you in a second. Alright, so what I have here is a DeWalt buffer. Now this is a variable speed buffer typically used to buff automotive paint, whether it's after a paint job or if you're doing a wax or a reconditioning. And then I bought these super cool diamond pads with the Velcro. And I have them 50, 100, 200, 400, 800, 1500, and 3000 grit. So, of course, we're going to start with the 50 grit. And then you just do your best to get it centered. Check it out once it's centered. If it seems like it's centered up pretty good, I think I could do a little bit better than that. So, sometimes you nail it right away. Oh, that's way worse. Now I can at least see the bad spot right there. It takes a couple of tries and eventually you get it. It's not the best, but it's not too bad. For the 50 grit, it's okay that it's like that. So, I just have a little homemade squirt bottle here. I get it good and wet. Again, not totally necessary to have the water, but it definitely makes it a lot nicer. And I'm going to just start out with this slab. And this is the one that we just cut. And so right now, this has got marks on it from that diamond blade. That once this dries out, you're going to see those marks going all the way through. I do think maybe there's a little bit of gold right there too. I'm catching it in the light. Could be pyrite. We'll see when we get a little closer. But I just put it in some water. And I just set it right on here. And I work it back and forth in every direction, around and around. And we're trying to get rid of all the grinding wheel scratches and any little imperfections. Get it all flat. The 50 grit is the roughest grit that I have, and this is the stage that's the most important, is to get it as flat as you can possibly get it, because every step after this is just removing scratches. So this is your chance to do some shaping. I'm spinning it around in every direction to make sure, because this thing's kind of got a high spot and a low spot. So by turning it around and moving it back and forth, it lets me get that entire surface and assures me that I'm getting a great flat glass type finish. So we'll get right after it. I'm also using my fingers to push down on it in different spots so I can put pressure here, work this edge, I rotate it, I work this edge, I rotate it, I work this edge, that edge, and I just keep moving the pressure around and working as many different pressure zones as I can to assure that I'm catching the entire surface. So as you can see, it puts a nice haze on there, and you can actually see your sanding scratches going on. It is important to clean it as you go, because as you're pulling impurities out of the rock, they might be 30 grit. So you're using the impurity itself as an abrasive, which is putting a deeper scratch in than the abrasive is. And when you move to the next step, you won't exactly end up getting that scratch gone. I will also say that this is variable speed. I got it running at about 600 right now, but it'll go really fast. I think like 3,200 RPM. Way overkill. It might do a faster job, but it won't do a better job. Alright, and I think that that's going to be pretty good. You can see I've made a nice haze across it when I clean it off. It doesn't seem to have any holes. The trick to this, and you won't see it so much in the camera, but I'll hold it up in the light and I'll look for any holes or imperfections that are deeper than 50 grit. And then when I'm doing that, that's when I'll decide, oh okay, I need to sand a little bit more. Stay right on this edge. And there. So now I do the other side. Got a little bit of a rusty pocket right there trying to come out. I'm going to work that just a little bit more, work that edge a little more. See how it got black there? You know I hit some new spots, so that's good. That's what we want. We wanna get them all. Okay, I'm gonna get this good and wet. Be right back. I need more water. Alright, I am back. And I got it good and wet. And right now I'm just looking for any imperfections. There's a little dimple there where that rust spot is. And without making a big miter there, there's not a whole lot I'm going to be able to do about getting rid of that. But that's just kind of part of the process, I guess. I got a little bit of a dimple on this side as well. I am going to try to work that one a little further. Said if you don't get the dimples and stuff gone in the 50 grit, you won't get them in the further steps. And this pad isn't that abrasive. You can put your hand right on it. The edge might get you a little bit, but nothing that a Band-Aid wouldn't help. Alright, so you can see it does get nice and glossy, but as that gloss dries, you'll see all the different sand scratches working their way through in there. And that's what the next few steps do. Every pad removes the scratches from the step before it. So this is your shaping and smoothing step. Getting all the blade marks out. It leaves a very rough texture on the surface. And then the rest of the steps work on making that roughness smooth until it ultimately looks like glass. So I'll get this switched out. We'll go from the 50 to the 100. It doubles every time pretty much. Some of these pads are balanced a little bit better than the other ones. That one looks pretty good. And then each time you put a new pad on, you want to make sure you get it good and wet. Start out with a nice wet pad, and then I get the rock good and wet, even more water. And right now I'm just using my fingers, rocking it back and forth, trying to make sure I get every surface. And these steps actually take a lot less time. You can step it through this pretty reasonably fast. I said I will be speeding this up in the camera for you guys, but well, that little spot that I thought might be gold is looking less and less like gold the more I get after it. Little silver pieces in there, but could have been a pyrite too. It had that kind of gold look, but I see my edges are showing, so I'm going to work the edges extra. Definitely remove some material there. Got a nice haze going on. Still not super happy with the way the edges are looking, but we'll take it to the next grit. I can always go back and start over. I'm going to run over the whole thing one more time. Kind of trying to hit every bit of the surface of that head. And I can see the new scratches I put in and how they look against the scratches I'm trying to get rid of. So yeah, I don't know if you guys can see what I'm seeing here, but there is the lines, they run like this from that sander just now. And you can kind of see them going against the grain of the other lines. Boy, that is a sharp looking piece. Where are we at here? And you can see the water makes it have that glossy glass look. It's going to look like that dry when we're done. Alright. Done with 100 on to 200. Ooh, that's a smooth one. Alright. Oh man, what a big difference. That step really changed the scratches for sure. I'm happy with the way the edges are looking. Happy with the way the middle's looking. Okay. On to the next step. What's after 200, you say? 400! That one looks like it's on there pretty good. Oh, let's get a little bit more water than that on there. Now as I get further along and these steps get smoother and smoother, I push harder and harder, which is what I'm doing right now. The biggest thing is don't drop your rock. I got a concrete floor in here and the rocks tend to break, or they end up landing in a spot where you don't want to have to dig them out. Okay. Take a sneak peek at her here. Looks really nice, really getting glassy. You can really see whatever that silver stuff is all up in through the black, really shining. I don't exactly know what that is, but I'm sure it is some sort of a precious metal. It could even be silver. I'm going to have somebody show me what silver looks like in the vein. I don't know. Alright, so after the 400 we jump up to the 800. Now my 800 I know from yesterday, it's got something going on with it. I don't know if it's delamination or if it's bent, but it rides rough. And I'm just trying to flex this a little bit just to get it. Hopefully I get that lump out of there. I dressed it pretty hard with another stone last night to try and knock some of it down, because if it's going dun 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 dun, it's doing that to your stone too. But I got it centered up good. Quite a bit of water on there. Yeah, I can feel it gonna do its thing though. Whoops, that is not the stone. Oh, not that bad. Out here at the edge. It's way better than it was. I just to stay away from that edge. It really feels like when you get into these finer grits, it feels like you're just rubbing a sheet of plastic across your stone. But you're just 800 grit removing 400 grit scratches is all we're trying to do. What? Right. There it is after the 800. So 800, it jumps to 1500. I just don't think 1600 is a very common number in the sanding industry. So it jumps to 1500. Like I said, these are some sort of a plastic pad with a Velcro back and then diamonds in them. Whoa, that is no good. All right, let's try it there. Oh, see right there. Oh, down here. How's that? Oh, 1500 pad is pretty easy to get on there. I see. Some of them, boy, you just set them on, they're good. Hey, there you go. That's nice. Get right to that. This one's got a little chunk to it too. I'm going to put this rougher stone on and try to dress it up some. Feels like it changed a little bit. Definitely want to clean all that dirty or grit off of there. Get right back to it again with my shiny rock. Okay, I think that'll be enough of the 1500. Boy, I'm looking at it and I like the way it looks. So, last step, 3000. Well, luckily for me, this 3000 disc is a lot better than the 1500. Although that is not centered. There we go. Well, no. Looked good at first. That's way better. Sanding with 3000 grit is like sanding with a dollar bill. There's not a lot of aggression, not a lot of abrasive. More of a polish than anything, but it's still an important step. I do believe that will be good enough. You can see it really has that shine. You can't see any of them scratches anymore. That silver I was telling you about, you can see it all through there. And it is also on the back side where it's a little bit blacker, but there you're catching it. So I am very, very happy with the way this is turning out. There is one more step. And this is fairly important. So this step involves this felt pad, and you get that on there. Get it nice and centered up. Now the felt pad actually has a better chance of hurting you than any of the rest of them because it's got some friction to it. All right, we like the way that looks. The important part of this is to start out with a nice dry rock, because you don't want to be mixing. You don't want to be mixing the water in with the polish. And you can take this in a couple of steps. I'm just using the Ultra Cut compound by Meguiar's, and I just get a little bit out. And what this will do is this will just polish and fill in You just get a nice heavy coating on there. And the trick is how you put it on here to not have it all fly off right away. And then you're just buffing that polish in for that nice near finish. Now this is just like buffing and waxing on your car. Although this stuff is probably 5,000 grit because it has some cut agent in it. Now there is an ultra finish that's probably in the 20,000 grit range. Boy, I am liking the way that's looking. Really setting off all of the stuff in there. Alright, let's get the other side. Same, just put a nice coating of it on there. Buff it in. I did get some in them rough edges. That'll be kind of a bummer to get out of there, but it'll come out. And then you just take a nice terry cloth or microfiber cloth and you buff it to a high gloss. And I will end up having to clean the edges up a little bit. They're coming out pretty decent though. And there it is, basically wax. Now I could continue on, switch to another pad and go with a finer wax, but I don't think it's necessary. There you can see that is a dry stone, and that is the gloss that I have achieved now. And you can really see those silver pieces in that black. Get the light right on there, you can see the contrast from them. And you can definitely see that that is one shiny rock. Alright, I'm going to get you out of the tripod and then we're going to talk about the rest of this real quick here when I don't have to stand sideways. We're going to take advantage of this sun rays coming through my window. There you can see, look, that's the sun's reflection. And that is how glass shiny that got. Well, there are a few dull spots here and there, and they are where there was an imperfection, like right there. That's actually lower than the rest of the rock. And if I really wanted to, I could get in there and polish that, but I would have to put a U into the surface to get down deep enough to polish that. And part of making these slabs is so you can see everything in high definition like that. Look at all that cool stuff going on in there. But then you can still see the actual rock, what it looked like. So I don't mind leaving the flaws in there. This looks really nice. You can just see from across the room that it shines. And I really think that someone is going to like to end up with this. And you will have the chance to end up with this. Because this will be one of the prizes I give away on my 100 or 500 subscriber party coming up towards the end of the month here. So I've been working most of the month getting prizes ready. Boy, that's got that gold look there, but that's the light shining back. But that's that silvery stuff that I said kind of looks right there. But I will be giving this one away during the live party. You're going to want to tune in for that live broadcast. The time is to be disclosed. And I will, I have that AI video where I'm giving away a bag of gold. And I will be making another video with all of the different prizes listed out. But this was just my video for the weekend of the new rock saw that is nowhere near done. But guys, I got the shop cleaned up a little bit. I got my bay opened up. I need to work on my truck. I got some stuff I need to do. And I've been putting off working on my truck for a couple of weeks. I got to bring it in and change some pulleys, fix my heater core. And I just won't have the time to sit down and weld the base up and get that done. So I just used it the way it is. I know that I can cut rocks with it, and I'm super happy with it. It could only get better from there. And one of you guys is going to end up with this kick-ass custom quartz slab of golden ore or some kind of ore made by me right here in this video. So stay tuned for more updates. Please click the like and subscribe button. Helps me build my channel. And I'm really trying to get to 500 by the end of the month, and I'm pretty close. So I will hopefully be hitting that. Either way, we should have the party by the end of the month. And I will talk with all of you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a great day.